So now what I'm going to show you is an increasing rarity in Scotch malt whisky distilleries, and that is an on-site cooperage. Morning, Brian. How are you?
Fine.
Nice to see you.
Yeah.
Good. Brian, I thought I'd do a little bit of a talk about these barrels here.
Yeah.
First of all, it's quite unusual to see. I think it's a bourbon barrel, isn't it?
American bourbon, yeah.
And what are you using that for?
Well, they mainly come in containers, and they either fill them fast as a barrel, or they make them up into the 56-gallon size, which is basically you get four dumps, 56-gallon instead of the.
So you're breaking down
barrels.
5 of those, and you're making four of those ones. That's tremendous. So let's just go over to have a look at one of these, and you'll see that obviously the width of the wood in a taller, bigger cask is much thicker than it is on a smaller cask. Now the European wood is very much more porous than the American wood. And what happens, you can quite easily see in something like this, that the whisky after time will penetrate into the wood to a certain depth, and probably within a centimetre of the outside of the stave itself. Now, it's very important that when we reuse casks, that we make sure that the cask is still active, because without a good activity, we will find that the whisky itself does not become activated, and there isn't the transfer or interaction of the flavours that we desire for Glenrothes. Moving over then to the taller of the two, this is the traditional sherry butt. All casks will have this curve in it, and this is a man-made curve. It's introduced by heating the stave and then bending it. Today we do it with machineries, but we use the hoops to bend the staves into this shape. This is a traditional shape that's been going for probably thousands of years, as far as we know. And the reason that it's bent is simply for manoeuvrability of the cask. Without a bend in the cask, it would be almost impossible to move half a ton's weight of whisky around. So in here, obviously, they're repairing casks. It's an incredibly skilled job. It takes about 3 years to become a fully fledged cooper. And over here, we've got what we call a hogshead. This is made out of an original American bourbon barrel. The staves tend to be slightly thinner, and this oak is much denser than the European style of oak, which means that the whisky does not penetrate as deeply into the oak as it does with the more porous European oak. The differences in terms of flavour are that these American oak casks will deliver lots of creamy vanilla, lots of elegant floral fruitiness to the whisky, and quite often coconut and coconut derivatives you'll get out of the American cask. Out of the Spanish cask, you're much more likely to get resinous fruitiness, lots of dried fruits, and the characteristic spiciness. And that's the key difference really between the two different types of oak. The preparation of the wood is very important. American bourbon barrels will char the inside of the wood. In contrast to the American bourbon stave, we have the sherry stave, which instead of being charred is actually toasted. So this is a light toasting. This doesn't caramelize the sugars within individual cells, but opens the cells to release the compounds from within. In terms of being able to produce the sort of style that we want, we have to actually season the wood before we take the put whisky into the casks. Now, in the case of a bourbon barrel, this has already been seasoned with bourbon. So the excessive tannins, which are always present in oak, will have been absorbed by the bourbon. By contrast, when we are making new casks, we ship the wood over to southern Spain, have them made into sherry casks and toasted. Thereafter, we ask our sherry partners to put Oloroso sherry into the cask, which will then penetrate the wood itself for a period of about 2 years. And the cask thereafter will be shipped over to Scotland and we will fill it with whisky. So the variety that we get in Glenrothes really is derived from the fact that we can use lots of different types of casks, different type sizes and different oaks, and we can combine those together to form different flavours within the vintage profile. That's all I really want to say about this process at the moment. Obviously we will be going on to the warehouse and having a look at these casks in situ as they sleep and mature to perfection.